Welcome to the Jay Ware Show. Today we are doing an awesome game review. It is live, laugh, love, play, review, subscribe, like, follow. Right? That's close, right? It was something like that.
Live, laugh, love.
Yeah. It was welcome to episode 3.
Oh yeah, it's episode 3, guys. This is great. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All of this is going in.
This is fantastic.
What are we doing on this one?
We are actually going to be reviewing Valheim, which is actually, it's one of my top 5 games at the moment. I'm so obsessed with it. I'm so excited to hear you guys' take on it. We're going to be showing some clips of us playing it. We're going to be talking about how we enjoyed it and all that jazz. We also have some other topics that we'll reveal later. Yeah.
I don't know if I'm not sure if I know what those topics are.
I am Jess, also Bumble 777. I am a streamer, also really bad at doing podcast intros. I'll get better, I promise. Maybe I won't. We'll see. You could find all my social medias in one of these corners. I still don't know which one it is.
Your right hand, I think.
This one?
I think that's
Or
your
this
left
one?
hand. Your right
This
hand,
is
right?
my right.
Oh,
This is my
then your
right.
left hand.
This side.
Yeah.
Right here. Yeah. Joe?
My name is Joe, Positive Joe on socials and things like that. I'm a content creator for the most part. And yeah, just here, ready to go. I'm pretty excited about this review as well. I think our first game review, it's going to go all over the place, but a great game in Valheim to start off. And as you can see on screen now, it's kind of like a gameplay as we go through it. One of my friend's Dodgerson just played for an hour, and I just recorded that. So
Awesome. So I'm JP. I'm RLJP on most socials. I'm also a content creator and a streamer on Twitch. I'm live at 4:30 every day except Wednesday. Mainly playing shooters. I've been playing Valheim a lot off stream, and I'm also curious to hear what Jess has a lot more hours than me in the game, and I'm curious to hear what that experience kind of brings to the game that's a little bit different than maybe just starting out. So I'm excited.
So I think, let's first start off with just like a little bit of, like an overview of the game itself, right? So it's Valheim. It's set in like the Viking era where they all believe in the gods, stuff like that, Odin, that kind of stuff. And that's like kind of the premise of the start of the game, right? Like they're, I don't know if it's banished or brought there or whatever, but at the very start of the game, which was pretty epic, you just get brought right in and you're being carried by this gigantic bird, whatever it is, to this new land that you are now supposed to do good by Odin and kill all these, I guess, mythical creatures is what you would call it. That's like your job.
They're all of Odin's enemies.
Yes. And if you slay them all, then you'll be looked high upon by the almighty Odin, right?
You get to Valhalla, I think.
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Yes. That's the
Yes.
all goal. And I think this game just took off in the space, right? And I think there was a bunch of stuff that combined together to make it take off like that. And I think it all starts with mainstream big time content creators picking it up all at the same time. And I don't think that was a mistake. I don't think that was just something that like came out of the blue. I think that was kind of planned either by the groups of the content creators or the developers reaching out to them themselves. One of the two. I don't really know which one happened, but definitely they kind of got together and they were like, let's get this game out there, and it just took off like wildfire. Just some crazy facts just so that you guys can hear them. I mean, everyone understands they sold 5 million copies of the game, which at $20 a game, you're talking about $100 million worth of profits. And when it comes to comparing that to things, in the first month of copies sold, you're talking about as big as titles that and everyone in the gaming world knows, like Halo 3, GTA 5. It outgrossed concurrent players. It outdid Among Us, Terraria. Like, those are big titles that, I don't know, if you told me that a Viking exploration game would beat you, I don't think you'd ever expect it. So what do you guys think about that?
I mean, it's essentially Viking Minecraft.
That's a Viking Minecraft. I like that. Yeah.
I think if you would have told me that when I first saw the game, I I would have laughed in your face, because this game, when you initially look at it, it's not. I was not interested. I was like, "Are you sure?" But as soon as you start playing it, that's when it piques your interest and start, because there's something in there for everyone. They have like PvP aspects of it. They have like bosses you have to kill. They have building and exploration. Like, I think this game is just a good, well-rounded demo game. Like, it's still in demo. It's not even the full release yet. So I'm just excited to see like the full release.
Which I think is something you have to point out specifically, is that it's an early access game, but doesn't feel like early access. And I think, a lot of early access games should take note. A lot of developers should take note that you shouldn't just throw a game out there in early access to find the bugs. You should try to throw out a game that's well polished to find the bugs that you might have a lot of trouble finding or something. You know what I mean? I feel like early access took over these past couple years of gaming, and in my opinion, has really ruined games for me in general when it comes to that early access category. I used to get really excited for early access games. Now I'm always thinking to myself, another stupid early access game that I'm going to waste my money on and then play for a couple days and then just be annoyed and bored because there's either not enough content or just it's terrible mechanically. One of the two. But Valheim definitely isn't that. It definitely has the content to kind of keep it, and I think it has endless possibilities. That's almost like a sandbox type game.
Yeah, I agree. I think we've seen, and going back to kind of what Jess said about Viking Minecraft, like we've seen a lot of these Minecraft type survival games pop up in the last 5-6 years. You had Minecraft with dinosaurs, which is Ark Survival Evolved. You had Minecraft with zombies. You had Minecraft Battle Royale. It's like all of these different things that are coming out, different iterations of the same kind of idea. And a lot of them do come out in that early access jank phase where there's just a certain amount of unplayability. And I'm not going to lie, there is a little bit of jank on Valheim, but it doesn't make the game unplayable at all. It kind of just adds to the fact that like this is a small dev team like doing a really good job.
An extremely small dev team. 5 people.
5 people.
5 individuals.
It's crazy. And I think what you were saying about all the content creators picking it up around by accident, obviously that's true, but I think if it wasn't so mechanically sound to start with, it wouldn't have gotten off the ground at all. And it makes it fun to play with friends. And I think one of my favorite parts of the game so far has been like the PvP toggle. Like you can turn PvP on or off so that I'm not getting like shot with an arrow while I'm trying to build my first stone axe, which is what did happen.
Yeah.
The first time, because I didn't know you could do that.
Now I'll be honest, I haven't explored PvP much. Is when you toggle the PvP, like does that not allow you to destroy other people's stuff?
No, PvP is for yourself, so if you have it off, you don't get damaged from your teammate.
Oh.
But if you have it on, your teammate can damage you.
Gotcha.
But you could still destroy other people's stuff.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it just helps that if you are both mining, if you swing the pickaxe one too many times and hit your friend, they're not gonna die.
Gotcha.
It's smart. It's really smart.
Now, one thing that I think that they really did well on was picking that developer team. That team people might know this person, Daniel Kaplan, because he came from the Minecraft series. He was the first employee to join Mojang Studios, which is Minecraft Studios, basically, right? He's the one that actually is part of this team, so it shouldn't be any surprise that this like kind of took off. And I think that has to do a little bit with those connections, because he was technically the business director, and he was handling communications between all of those different things like Apple, Google, Microsoft, all the other things. I can't remember all the other ones, but that like he was involved in all that, so his connections were wide and broad, right? And so I think that that really helped it just kind of get to that level. But he knew what it took to get a game to take off, and he did it. And I think I was talking to Dodgerson about this earlier, and Narwhal, you as well. Just the game, if you were to say like, does it bring anything to the table that's new? Not really. Like I can't really pick anything out that really is like, wow, that thing is brand new to the space and is killer and is like, it's changing the space. None of that is really there. But then it takes all of the best things from all of the things that you were mentioning before, Narwhal, all those other games that were good about them, the best aspects of them, and just combining it into one game. And so they took out all the crappy things that everyone was complaining about on every one of those games, and then only took the good things and put it all in, and now you have this pretty well polished game that really has almost nothing to complain about. I was like looking for things to complain about as I was playing it and having trouble finding it, until I found out when I leveled the ground that if you level it too much and you don't have anything touching the ground anymore, the entire thing just collapses and deteriorates. That was and I was misled by one of my viewers. He was like, no, it definitely won't. And they told me afterward that something has to be touching the ground. That's unfortunate.
That's funny.
I like that aspect though, because it's very realistic. It's not just you're gonna build a floating house, because that's not like, in Minecraft you build a floating house, you're like, okay, it still works. But
Yes.
in Valheim you have to have the blue grounded pieces to connect to the green, and you can see like how everything is structured. If it's yellow or red, it's gonna fall. And I
Right.
like that fact that you can actually see how things are structured and kind of better your building in a way, because we always look through to see if there's yellow and we fix it, or red and we try and fix it.
Nice.
And it makes it kind of more, I don't know, it's just more architectural sound.
Yeah, because you're a builder. You like building. You were saying that about Fallout, that you really like the building aspect of it.
I do. I like exploring and building. A lot of my friends I currently play with love building, so I let them do that, and I like to go out and venture out and find all of the enemies and bring them back to our base. That's my job.
I have been raided like 2 or 3 times by enemies
Yeah.
in like my first 4 hours of gameplay. It's not fun. It's not that great.
I think that's so interesting though. Like,
yeah,
it's different enough from Rust, I feel like.
Yeah.
The world, first of all, as you guys can probably see on the screen, the world is beautiful.
Massive.
And it's huge. And it's really fun. The ambient sounds are really good. It's just like, it's an enjoyable, like, seamless playing experience when you start. That being said, I had no idea what to do when I started. And I like walked up and started to punch trees. I was like, okay, Minecraft, let's punch trees. That was not the way. That was not the way.
No.
It took me like a solid 5-6 minutes to figure out.
Let's go into that a second though. The graphic part, how you said it was beautiful. Because to me, nothing really blows me away when it comes to the graphics. Like the sun maybe a little bit and how it's on the water and stuff, but in general, the graphics are actually pretty, in my opinion, underwhelming. Now, does that help a lot of people play it? Probably, right? And keeps the overall, I mean, it's only a gigabyte download, right? Compared to Call of Duty. I have to download 16 gigabyte updates. Like, so I don't know. I mean, I think it's similar to Minecraft, where like, Minecraft has its style and people just deal with it and for some reason love it, and I'll never understand that. But the Valheim is kind of in that same kind of realm, except it does add these little subtle things like the wind and the fog.
Yeah, like the little wisps.
Yeah, and like
Breath of the Wild vibes.
Oh yeah, that's a good.
And I think that's why I
yeah.
like it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I also really like the movement mechanics. I like the dodge mechanics. I think that's super cool. I think it's just something that you can tell the dev team put like a lot of thought into how their character was going to move before they put the character in the game, or they spent a lot of man hours, which is probably true, themselves playing and seeing, okay, this is not satisfying. What can we do to make this better? It's like it just makes the game feel more like a labor of love, which I definitely think it is.
I like the fact that I always get stuck on walls and doors because I mean, normally I get stuck on walls and doors. I always hit something with my arms, but I like the fact you bounce off, that you're not just running into the door constantly. So I like
Yeah.
that fact because otherwise I just continue running and I have to stop and like turn around. Like other games, you just continue like at that pillar or something, but this you actually bounce off of it and you keep running around, which I like. I think that's fun.
Yeah, it definitely shows that they were looking at more playability than just content itself, you know? And I think that speaks a lot. You know, there are some things where like ships will get stuck, things like that, but they've already put an update out there to try to help fix those kind of things. So they're active, which is fantastic. You better be active with you know $100 million of copies sold. Where do you guys see this game like going towards? You think? Do you think that it's going to be relevant for a long time, or do you think that this is going to blow over in a month or two?
I don't foresee it blowing over in like a month or two. I think what'll happen is that it'll have a very dedicated small player base, and then it's a game that people that have played it right now will convince their friends to pick up so they can have another party game to play together.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll play it once every couple months, but I see the player count steadily growing. Maybe not the concurrent player count, but the amount of copies sold like steadily growing for at least like the next couple of years.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
All right.
And I think if they do put out more content with it, like possible DLCs and things, or more bosses, because my friends already defeat all the bosses.
Right.
And I mean, I haven't even gotten to the second boss yet, and I already hit 205 days in game. Like, there's a lot to do.
How many hours of gameplay is that? By the way, Jess has only had this game for a week, not longer than that.
Yeah, I think she bought it last
She
Saturday,
literally bought
right?
it last Sunday night, I think. Yeah.
101 hours.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my god. Okay.
But I mean,
trying to out Jess here.
Since there's no dedicated server, I have to be in the server, so a lot of the time it's me chilling while my friends are still playing around.
Sure.
So I have my undedicated server up for them. So that's where most of the hours come from, but I do play for like
that's
5 hours a night.
10 of the hours come from.
Yeah. So it's.
Do you guys remember?
I like the fact. Go ahead.
Do you guys remember the game Reign of Kings? By any chance?
No.
Reign of Kings.
I don't think I played that one.
A lot of our peers came from this game, not came from, but there was this game Reign of Kings where it was set in like the medieval times. And
yes, I do remember this game.
People used to do streams on this thing, and it became really big actually. And people were watching it, people were playing it. There was combat. There was a lot of PvP actually. There wasn't as much exploration, which I think is something that Valheim really has up on it. The thing about this exploration is that there's a storyline to Valheim, and that is a big deal, right? Because it gives you something to do that's not just PvP related or player interaction related. But I think in order for it to survive long term, there needs to be that interaction so that content creators can like really build off of it. Because I could see some really fun things going on, like people taking people hostage, people throwing people into cliffs, people throwing people into the dwarfs, like all these things like coming into play, and the RPing on it would be so hilarious and therefore keep the game really relevant for a long time. How easy do you think it's going to be for them to put out the level of content that's needed to keep it relevant though? Because I feel like no matter what they do, if they put out like just one new boss, right, then that thing's gonna be down in a week, maybe max, unless they make it really, really hard. They're
Which
gonna
they
have
could.
to, yeah, they're gonna have to put out like almost like a mini world every single patch in order for it to make it, uh, you know, hours and hours of playtime worthy, right?
But have you seen the size of the world? Like
Yeah,
when you scroll all the way out on the map,
yeah,
I haven't even covered like this much of it.
right,
And
right,
I've explored all over every single different part I've found, and I haven't even covered a tiny pin size of the map. So I feel
right.
like they can add so much more to that map.
There's so much space.
And
Mhm.
underground too. They can add underground things,
Oh yeah,
not just crypts. They can add like, you know,
yeah.
not necessarily underworld, but stuff like that.
You know, the
I
atmosphere with
think
all the enemies reminded me of the forest.
Mhm,
Yes.
I agree. It's and I think now like remembering Reign of Kings and like games like Starforge, if you ever played Starforge,
Hmm.
um, like the devs completely abandoned both games like right away,
Yeah.
which was really frustrating. Like they put out, I think, like 2 or 3 like decent patches for Reign of Kings, but they were more like bug fixes than anything else, if I'm remembering. And I'll look it up at some point to make sure. But like Starforge had one patch. It was a $20 game, and there was one patch created for it. And then the devs literally just abandoned it and just like fled into the night. And I mean, they did it with Reign of Kings, and then it was the same dev team on Starforge, which is why I bring up Starforge. I don't see that happening with Valheim, because I think a lot of like it's not necessarily just that like big content creators using it. I feel like the content creators that are playing it are really like positive in the space. I feel like
Hmm.
there's not a lot of those divisive people just like Valheim sucks because they just don't play it, or they're just busy ragging on other FPS games to like try Valheim and like really sink their teeth into it. And I think enough people know kind of like the character of Valheim that even if they haven't tried it, they kind of know what they're going to get into with that type of game. The Steam trailer is really good for it. They explain it really well on Valheim, and it just seems like they're like still really dedicated to like creating this. It like seems like it's their baby at this point, which is a good feeling to have as a player, knowing that I spent $20 on it,
Yeah.
and it's definitely going to be more than one patch.
Yeah. Let's get into that. Do you think the $20 is worth that price point? I mean, after playing it, Jess is like, oh, I would have paid $80 for this thing. What do you think about that? The $20? Because it's a
You
little
saw
steep for an
my
early
face.
access game, right?
It is steep, but when you compare it to paying, other early access games can be like $40.
Yeah.
I think $20 is a good price point because it is a small dev team, and you can bet you can pretty much bet that there's going to be either DLC that's going to come out, or as it progresses, they might have different tiers that you can upgrade your game to get DLC free at some point. Um, and like you said, there's $100 million in revenue at this point
Hmm.
for the team. So like you can bet a certain amount of that is going right back into developing the game, and that might I'm just excited at the opportunities that brings, at
Yeah.
having that much money for this kind of dedicated dev team. It makes me excited for like the cool things that they can do with it so far.
You know, a couple of the mechanics that really impress me, or, it depends, because I think it really depends on, do you want to be like the hardcore survival gamer, or do you want to be like the casual gamer? I think it hits a right in between those really well. And a good example of that, I noticed it especially when I played last, was the hunger system, right? There's not hunger and thirst and temperature. Like, they're all kind of dived into one thing that just hurts your health, but like they're very easily dealt with, and things for them are readily available, versus some other survival games where like, yeah, if you go like 5 minutes without finding a berry, you're dead for sure, and you have to start all
Yeah.
over again or something. It wasn't like that. Like, you're not always having to deal with it either, because you can stack the things you eat, and that, it shows you the bar so you can plan for it rather than just like guessing later on in the game and stuff. It's like little things like that, to like the grass waving in the wind and stuff, but somehow not like destroying your CPU and graphic. I think that's a huge plus, obviously.
I agree. And I'm thinking of like games to kind of relate it to, like the small dev team kind of deal. And the one game that like popped out at me when I like was reading patch notes and reading like dev comments on Twitter and things like that, because that's more of what I focus on, is like how did the dev team feel about it. It brings me back to a little game that came out, I think 4 years ago at first, as like an alpha. It's called Due Process. And Due Process is kind of like a CS type game where there's defenders inside a house and there's attackers outside the house, and you choose your gear like in this little truck. It's all first person, and you can decide which way you're going to go. You call strats and stuff. And it had like a dev team of 5 or 6 people, and it kind of had a big hit, and then it went down, and then it went like skyrocketed back up in like the last few months. And it's just because they just keep progressively putting out patches and patches and patches that are like really good for the game. And so even if I'm thinking like, even if Valheim does fall off a little bit, like the consistency with which the content is coming out again, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like huge content. It's like world updates or different kind of AI or NPCs that you have to fight, or that can like trading systems and stuff like that can come out. It'll keep building, and the fans will be like a lot more excited about more, and they'll play it more, and it'll get more popular again. So even if it does go down, there could be a resurgence like super easily.
Mm-hmm. I mean, people have already built like villages in this game and stuff like that, and I wonder when or if they'll wipe it. You know, they're gonna wipe it. They've already said in early access that that's probably gonna happen at some point in time, right? Which is expected in early access. I think the biggest thing to see is how many people come back to it after that wipe and think that's deserving of their time twice. You know what I mean? Because any kind of wipe that you have to start all over again and then do it all again, it's easier. But I think Valheim, it does take some time to get yourself up and do it. So we'll see how many people kind of come back after those first wipes.
I know with the Forest, my friends and I play that over and over. I mean, we haven't finished it, but just getting in there and building and that survival thing, like it's fun for us. Playing that, and we'll start a new game and then start over, because you kind of have to do that. Like, I like the fact in Valheim, you can take your character and go to a different world or a different person's server and still have all your gear. So you're not physically starting over at a different world, which I like, because I like not coming into a server where my friends are so up here in level and I'm starting off down here.
And your first jump is giving you the big yellow rings.
Yeah, and I like the fact that I can come in after doing all the things in my own server and having like a decent level and coming in and helping my friends and still being kind of up there with them.
Right. Yeah, that is a huge plus.
That's super nice.
Yeah. And I like the learning aspect of picking something up and you instantly know all the recipes with that. That's cool for me. Instead of having to try and make things like you already know.
Mm-hmm. So, when it comes to the multiplayer aspect of the game, and now you can have private servers up to 100 people or something like that, which is nuts. I think if I was on a server with 100 people, I'd be freaking out. And it's interesting because they can spawn kind of like anywhere, I guess, technically, right? They can spawn anywhere. So it truly is like have to find your way around. Now, does anyone really know what that thing in the sky is? And or like can you get on it? You know, that big like tree branch looking thing that's in the sky? Or is that a spoiler? Maybe I shouldn't spoil it.
Do you know what it is?
No, I don't really know what it is.
Oh, I don't either. I tried to find the end to it. We went sailing trying to find where it landed, and we couldn't find it. Also, you have to be careful because there's sea serpents.
Yeah.
And we have this little tiny boat, and there's like 3 of us.
So you went sailing trying to find the end of it and just never found the end of it?
We never found the end of it, and we ended up finding the plains, which is also cool because, you know, that's a death place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's like
That's a death place.
that's a death place. You gotta be careful. I got one-shotted by a goblin.
Oh my god. I still have so much of this world to
Right.
explore.
And I think that's what
It's
makes it
so cool.
really appealing is that the world is gigantic, like literally gigantic. And they've even talked about creating more worlds that you can go to and stuff because they have that teleportation system, right?
Yes.
Which isn't a spoiler, but it's there. So that opens them up to being able to do anything. Like you can go to a different world, you can go to a different time. Like they can do whatever they want with it, really, and basically expand it from there, which is pretty cool. Like they could have like an entire another world made,
Yeah.
and then have you teleport there through the teleport for a DLC, and it could be like a complete winter biome or like water biome,
Yeah.
something like
And
that
you're
where
freezing all the time.
there is cold atmosphere in this one, but it could be something that's completely
Yeah.
different, like Mars. They could add Mars just for kicks and giggles.
I like that aspect. I like that they can add stuff like that. I mean, we've set up teleportation in our game to certain places, and it's nice, but you can't teleport certain objects.
Hmm.
So that part's not so nice. But it makes it fun because you have to think about how to get it back to your main base if you have things set up on your main base, and or if you we literally set up the type of material we needed for what we can't teleport back at our new base, where all of that stuff is
Mhm.
readily available because we couldn't teleport it back and forth. So it makes you think and build and be creative with the game, and I like that aspect a lot.
Mm-hmm. I think the ship driving and stuff like that's pretty cool. How you can cause damage to people if you go too quick.
The raft though, the raft is not worth it. Our ship got stuck and we died and we had to raft back to it, and it took us an hour to get where our
Oh
ship
my
was with
god.
the raft. Yeah, it was bad. But the ship is great.
Yeah, yeah.
My
The
gosh.
the background music and stuff is pretty appealing. Definitely enjoy that. Like it's a game
Yeah.
that you can keep. You know how like you always go into games and you turn off the music or the background music because you're streaming or whatever you're doing, but it's just like it's so annoying. I don't find that in Valheim, like at all. I find that the music pretty appealing. Although I haven't played it for 101 hours. So, Jess, how about you?
my my friend got really into building and he's like, "Why am I building so much?" And he goes, "Oh, the music kind of sounds like Minecraft music." He's like, "That's why I'm building so much." But I feel like it's a mixture of Minecraft and Skyrim, and I love the Skyrim music. I think it's so
Yeah.
calm, like calming, and I like listening. I do like the music, so I have it on when I play because I think it is very calming. It's kind of gets you want to go explore and
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
bring enemies
cool.
I
back.
compare it to Starbound music for me. Starbound music really is calming to me.
Mhm.
Probably puts me to sleep sometimes too. But Valheim won't because it will just raid me if I'm trying to relax.
It's true.
Gotta
But
build a wall.
I know you gotta build a wall. I was playing solo, so I think that's something to talk about a little bit. So I was playing by
Yeah.
myself, and because I wanted to feel that solo experience, see if it was possible, and it definitely seems to bring it down in difficulty when you're solo playing versus when you're with others and things like that, which is good. But definitely a game, in my opinion, that would be almost like a must play with others kind of game. I think playing by yourself, unless you already have a direction to help a group and like you're just farming or something like that by yourself to then do a group activity, I think this game would get boring a little quick with just a single person.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely better with people.
I think if you're doing like a challenge by yourself, it'd be fun trying to like go through and do the bosses. Because the first boss for me was really easy, where I could have defeated it by myself. Um, but I do enjoy the fact that I can play with other people. I mean, when I go out and explore, I'm usually by myself anyways because everyone else is building. So I have that part, but at least I can still talk to them and stuff. But I do like the fact that you can have a bunch of your friends in the server doing different tasks, but also have the ability to play by yourself
Mm-hmm.
without it changing, without having a new game or anything. It's just you have
Yeah.
that available.
Yeah.
The character
Yeah, that's
creation
nice.
part of it is pretty simple, right?
Yes.
I'm glad they didn't put too much time into it. I feel like people put way too much time into that part of games at times where it
Yeah.
really doesn't matter that much.
Beard? No beard. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's
Right.
I think it's to their benefit that they also like it's not like Ark. Like Ark was like pretty in depth but not super big, but you could make your character look inhuman. And I
Mhm.
think it's to their credit that they kept it simple enough to where like you're not making their eyebrows huge and like making their head like a basketball. Like I think that's super nice. It gives it like less of a meme kind of feel to the game, and I think
Yeah.
that's a really to their benefit.
Like the minis in Rust that like run around with like little
Yes.
like hatchets and stuff.
Yes.
Super annoying to hit because they're so small.
Very annoying.
Has anyone
I
done
like the game.
PvP yet? Like actual like someone trying to kill you as a player yet? I haven't. So that's something that I
Neither.
think would be interesting. Because if you have like 100-person server, let's say you have like 4 clans of 25 Viking individuals, and they just like are going after each other, I can see that being pretty intense. With like, because there is like a parry system, and you know stuff like that, and the arrows you have to be pretty good at shooting if you want to hit someone that's actually trying to dodge your stuff. My accuracy with the deer has to be like 2%, maybe not even.
Yeah.
The upgraded bow is a lot easier, definitely. The first bow you have to aim way high in order to hit your target, but the new bow you can actually aim and it hits your target.
Oh, sorry,
Which
the upgraded bow, which I have not touched yet.
Yeah, I've not gotten that yet.
it's the fine wood bow, which is really nice because when you aim, whatever you're aiming at actually hits it. It doesn't.
Oh.
You don't have to aim too high or way out of the way. But my friend did something in game and he had PvP turned on, so I was punching him. And he's like, "How are you doing damage?" He's like, "What's going on? Why are you hurting me?" And I'm like, "You have PvP on."
Gotcha.
So it was great. I was just punching him as he's trying to pickaxe. That's the only time I've actually partaked in PvP, because most of the time it's accidents. You're all swinging at the same tree or near each other when you're trying to hurt the other like gray dwarfs, but we normally turn that off just in case because we don't want to kill each other while we're in battle.
I also really like how the storyline can progress you and your building materials and stuff by itself. So it never just leaves it open to where you can just be in an endless turning and just not knowing where to go, you know? Because like when you kill that first boss, right, you get a new thing that can mine better, and then the crow tells you to go, this is where you need to go to then continue your journey. So it gives you direction, and I think that is very nice.
It's super nice.
Because you can get lost in some of the ones that are just too vague to tell you, and it just takes you so long to figure it out with if you're not using like a third party thing or something, you know?
I like the crow as like the tutorial because you can go and talk to them if you want. Like you don't have to talk to the crow.
Right.
So instead of it just automatically the tips popping up on screen, and I turn them off all the time. I don't read the instructions. I don't go through the tips because I find them annoying and I just figure it out. But I like having the crow because I can walk up to the crow and it's like, oh, this, and this. Like, okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not intrusive on like your organic experience.
So you can talk to them if you want. There's times where I've ignored the crow a lot. But I like the fact that you do have to defeat the bosses to learn the next materials to continue building. Because I know the next boss that I have to defeat will help me learn iron, and that's what we need to proceed and to improve.
Right.
That's a cool like progression base. I like that a lot.
Name something you hate about the game.
Jess.
You have to find something.
There's a lot.
Oh, there's a lot that you don't like about the game. Okay, no, you can expand on that. You can talk about all of it. Let's hear it.
My main thing is the food. You can only eat one of each food item.
Huh.
I mean, that's great in some aspects, but also like when you're out and about and your health is depleting and you have to try and like sit and find a fire, like it'll increase back up to where you are, but unless that thing starts blinking, you can't eat a different food or you can't re-eat, which kind of frustrates me because I'm used to games like Fallout and Witcher where you just eat and it like fills your health bar up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm one of those that just rushes the enemy, and now I have to kind of play back a bit
Mm-hmm.
because my health might deplete too much. So instead of me being a big old tank and just going in there, now I have to be like a little archer shooting it from far away so you can't hurt me. So
Got
that's
it.
one thing I don't really care for too much. Also the swimming aspect.
Oh yeah, the swimming's horrible. I don't know if it's just because I'm a
Yeah.
terrible swimmer, because I'm starting to think maybe if I just get my level of swimming up, then it might get better. But for sure, you look like you literally never touched water in your life as a Viking, a full-grown Viking person, and never once touched water.
I hate that you can't just swim though. You have to like
Yeah.
it's very
Walk or whatever you want to call it.
stamina based. If you run out of stamina while in the water,
Oh
you
yeah,
will die.
yeah.
And that's how I
Yeah.
died. That's how I died the first time. I was in the water and I didn't realize that if you run out of stamina, you drown. And I drowned and lost all of my gear. And I was on a different island, couldn't get there because that's where the raft was. I'm like, great,
Mm-hmm.
that's wonderful. So that's the one thing I don't like is the stamina water-based thing. But
Yeah.
I'll let you guys say what you don't like.
So my thing is, and I use this word jank quite a bit, but the trees are pretty janky. The very first tree, I built my stone axe. I felt great. I was doing the thing, and I cut down a tree, and it went whoop on top of another tree. And so I'm like, okay, I'll cut this tree down to get it down, and I cut it, and the tree that I had first cut down fell on me, and I died immediately. It was like, and I got it
Yeah.
on camera. It's really funny, but it happened so fast, and I was like, oh no,
Death.
this is not good.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that for like a new player having some struggles with
The physics,
trees.
definitely.
Yeah,
I
For
had
sure.
a I
it's like weird.
was chopping a giant oak tree, like
Mm.
one of the big ones. And I was uphill. I was going to have it go downhill. And I chopped it. It started falling uphill right onto me. So I moved. And as I moved, it started rolling uphill towards me. I'm like, this tree is just out to kill me because there's no way this is physically possible. Like,
Yeah.
it should go downhill. I made me so mad because this giant oak that I have to try and outrun. I'm just.
I
love
have
that.
noticed that if you cut down a really big tree at the top and it rolls all the way down, it'll take out everything else beneath it, like as it's hitting
Yep.
everything, and then you can just pick up all the material afterward. Just a little shortcut on the initial starting area. But I guess it's different for
Yeah.
everyone, right? Because it's randomly generated for every single world, right? Your starting area technically. So that's a nice
a
thing
super
about
cool
it.
way to do it.
It is like so that your experience can be different on every server compared to others.
The only thing I don't like about that is the map system, because yes, everyone's map is different in the world, but I'd like it to kind of sync up a bit when you're all exploring together. Because the fact that like I have to physically ping something to say, hey, this is where this is, and we have to all try and mark it on our maps while we're all doing different things, that's the only thing that's a little frustrating. And I may have explored here, and my friend explored here, and we don't have those other two areas on our map.
Oh
And
yeah,
I feel
because they haven't been there yet.
Yeah, I feel like there should be a thing to sync maps if you're
Mm,
playing in the same server.
that would be too
Not if you
easy.
go like, yeah. Oh,
Like
I
in
mean,
Sea of Thieves when you point your maps at each other.
yeah. It'd be nice.
It's one of my
Just,
favorite mechanics in that game.
Just sync it up and be like, okay, I see that. That's good. I mean, if you're both exploring instead of having to go this way and then go back this way to see it on your map.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. I don't mind the fact that it's all like empty until you explore because that makes sense. Just if you're exploring together, like I would come back and be like, all right, I found this, this, and this. What'd you find?
Yeah. I'll be honest, my first hate was the difficulty of the first boss. Now I know that it was meant to so that people would get by it, but geez, it was really easy. Like I was expecting to I went there fully expecting to die because I really didn't have that much. I had some stupid club and a bow. I was like, this is gonna be really difficult, really hard. And then I just ran into the rock and I used the rock to LOS it, and it would just keep running into the rock over and over again. And then its lightning bolt would hit me, but only for like 7. I feel like if a freaking mythical deer with antlers is coming at me and jumps up and then hits me in the face with multiple bolts of lightning, I should be dead on the ground and have to dodge that or something. I don't know. I think, that's where it gets, that's where you have to have that casual versus hardcore survival, that in between. I think it was great, but I think it was a little light on that. I think it's got to be hard for the world bosses because the world bosses are so unique and there's only 5 of them. Like, but I get it because you need to do it because in order to progress, you need to kill it. So in order to progress to being able to get yourself some copper and stuff, you need that death. So it can't be too hard or else everyone will complain and then quit the game. So I understand where they came from.
We were fighting the boss, and later we ran into a troll with a club, and the troll hit my friend and killed him. He's like, I was one-shotted by a troll. He's like, why is a troll harder than the boss? I'm like, because it's a troll.
Because it's a troll.
That's the only answer I had. I was like, because it's a troll. And he's like, oh my god. So now every time we see a troll with a club, he's like, oh, it has a club. But they are like some of the creatures are really hard, like the draugrs when you go into the swamp. Like they'll hit you with one shot and it's insane.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
The wolves. I'm terrified of the wolves. Like I avoid the mountain area because those killed me so many times. But yeah, the first boss was very underwhelming. Especially fighting. I was like, oh, okay, it's doing 3 damage. Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense, but still, like, I expected, like, crazy F gear. Like, let's go.
All right, so coming up on the time, I think we should. It's our first game review as a podcast, so we need to come up with these like categories that will sync up to any game that we review, really, right? Right. So what should those categories be? I think one should definitely be value, right? Because everyone wants to know, is a game worth it? Is it not? And even a free to play can have value because your time is valuable. So, in my opinion, this game is a 5 out of 5 for value because it is like a very complete early access game that you have to spend hours if you're completing the 5 bosses, right? You have to spend at least a day's worth of game playing time where you're like really, really working it to get to that last boss. So it's worth it in my opinion for value.
I agree. I think even just like starting out, you kind of feel like you're getting your bang for your buck because it's easy to start and you can already tell like when you get into it, it's a grindy game and that you need to spend the time doing it. And that's appealing for me to know right at the beginning. And so I think it's definitely worth it on value.
I definitely would say a 5 out of 5.
Okay.
I'd say a 5 out of 5 on value as well.
Very good.
I thoroughly enjoy this game. At first I thought I would not, and I was very skeptical. As soon as I started playing it, I was like, yep, this is the game. This is the one I want to stream all the time, play for hours, lose sleep over.
Gotcha. So Jess is a fan.
Yes.
Mildly.
101 hours.
What was another category we were talking about? So that's value. Replayability, I think, was one, right? What do we think about the replayability of this game when it comes to like coming back to it every time? But more importantly, like when you complete it, do you think that you'll want to replay from start again, finish again? This is a tricky one for me.
Me too, but I think yes as well. So I'd give it a 5 for replayability just because I feel like there's so much cool stuff like I haven't really looked at too many spoilers, but in like the cool parts that I've really seen, I feel like me as a person, like I'd be super excited to go through it with someone new or somebody else, just to see, because the worlds are all randomly generated, like start a new world with a new person and kind of just to see what their experience is like. If I played all this time to get through every single boss, I'm gonna want to play with my friends and see how they kind of react to it. So I definitely say it's like definitely replayable with how random it can be.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think the replayability will be similar to anyone else's replayability for like any of these other kind of games. Like if you didn't replay Rust, if you didn't replay Reign of Kings or something like that, then you're probably not going to replay this game either. But I think it can kind of carry over a little bit because of the fact that it's so large. I think if to really explore the entire map start to finish, like completely, I don't know if anyone's done that yet. Probably not. Actually, no, someone probably has attempted, so I don't know if they have or not, but
right.
That by itself is replayable, you know, like if you really wanted to continue to explore what else is available. So, you know, I'd say 4 out of 5 for replayability for me.
I'd say 4 as well.
Okay.
I definitely like to start a new world and play with different people.
Yeah.
Because I think that's fun. Like starting over from scratch, I think it is fun. So if this did get wiped, I would still play again.
Yeah.
Because I know so much now than I did starting out. I think it was fun learning everything, but now I can instantly go in and I'd like to make a little. You said a village. I want to make a little village now. I'm gonna make a village in the plains just because it's like the death village.
Good luck.
Yeah, right. Like
in the town where I was born. Yeah. What else were we talking about? Oh, we were talking about mechanics.
Right, mechanics.
Maybe mechanics.
I would say, for me, mechanics wise, I think it's like a 5. Something we didn't really talk about, which we don't really have a lot of time to go into, but the building is actually pretty good compared to most games of this nature. You know, I think the building's pretty good, pretty simple, very easy to pick up, and I think that's the biggest thing. But when it comes to mechanics, I'll give it a 5 out of 5. It's very simple, very easy. There's not, as you say, jankiness. I don't think there's that much jankiness in the movement and stuff like that. Like, I'll always compare things to PUBG and how successful PUBG was and how really terrible the movement and everything in it was, yet somehow it took off like crazy. This one is so much better as an early access game than I would say most are.
I agree. I think like the combat is intuitive. The crafting is super easy to pick up. Once you get it, you get it. I really like when you're cold, it doesn't just say you are cold in the corner. It's like, you're cold, get to a fire, like right up on the screen. Like, it's just, you're cold. It's like, oh, okay. So I don't have to like always be monitoring the bottom left part of my screen to make sure I'm not cold or that I'm not wet. It's just going to tell you. I think that's really cool. I think it doesn't necessarily, it does its job without necessarily being too difficult. And it can be super difficult if you want it to. I think the amount of variety like really gives you a chance to use the mechanics well. I really like the building too. So I give it a 5 out of 5 in mechanics as well.
I give it a 4 out of 5 only because when you get over encumbered, you stop moving altogether. And your girl likes to carry a lot of stuff on her. So I get over encumbered a lot. And that's the only part that like frustrates me. But everything else, like movement, fighting, like building, like it's all very smooth in my opinion, especially for an early access. But that part's fun. Like I thoroughly enjoyed all of that. It's just the over encumbered.
Right. I won't lie, I haven't been over encumbered yet.
Me either.
So that probably explains why I don't like that.
We mine a lot. I'd have to carry all of it. It's bad.
I'm trying to think what else. I mean, graphics could always be a thing, right? So graphics, I will put it at a 3 out of 5. I'll be honest, I don't think it's anything that's like spectacular, but at the same time, I don't think it was meant to be. So I can't really down it for it, but I'll also I'll also rate it at what I think it is, and you know, it's a 3 out of 5. It's not anything spectacular, but it doesn't hurt the game. I think that's the biggest thing, is it doesn't really hurt the game.
I'm gonna rate it a 4 out of 5 on graphics. I think they knew exactly what they wanted to do when they were going in and creating this graphically, and I think there are just like the little nuances of the world really give it that pop that I don't know we would get if the graphics were like super crazy awesome. I also think I'm giving it a little bit more points because I can go to my friends that have gaming laptops and be like, "You want to play Valheim?" And they'll be like, "Yes, it's not gonna fry my computer."
That's
I
true.
think that's a really big plus, especially
true.
for me, and especially for people that are more casual gamers that maybe have PCs that were good 2 years ago. They can still pick this game up and have a good time with it. So that's why I'm rating it 4 out of 5.
I would rate it a 4 out of 5 as well, because although like I thoroughly enjoy the graphics, it gives me a lot of WoW vibes with the way everything's like shaped and everything. Like it looks nice. But also with the graphics as well, my friend has to turn the graphics all the way down to where he doesn't have the grass at all because of his specific graphic card, but he could still run the game.
That is
And it's
Oh no.
that card must be
it's kind of
poor.
funny because I'm like, oh, look at the grass. I put grass here. He's like, that must be nice.
Yeah. Oh man,
Playing on his graphing calculator.
that's rough.
But I mean, I also have a friend. I asked if she was playing it, and she said, yeah. And she has a regular laptop that she only gets like specific games that can run on there, and this is one of the games that can run, and she can play it. And I like the fact that people who do have PCs that aren't the wazoo like gaming PCs like mine can still play games like this. So.
Right, and not have to worry about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
And I think it's nice graphically that you can look at the game graphically, be like, okay, this isn't like, these aren't the most incredible graphics I've ever seen. I've got a 1050 in my laptop. I could probably run this and have a good time.
Yeah.
I think you can look at it and know that you can run it, which is a big plus.
It's these little things, right? Like the falls of the leaves after you take out a tree, or like the teleporter with its orange particles that are coming through that are nothing spectacular, but they're good enough to like make you feel pretty good about it. You know, all these little particles that seem to not just burden your computer like any other game does, like Apex Legends that completely dominates every aspect of my computer. So
it's true.
Let's do overall score. What would you rate this game? 0 stars to 5, everything included. I'll rate it probably a 4.5 out of 5. It lived up to the hype in my opinion. It's pretty good. It's not overly hyped. I'm not surprised that 5 million copies sold. And I expect that number just to continue to rise as content keeps coming out for it.
I am also going to give it a 4.5 out of 5. I think there's a really specific direction that the dev team has in mind. I think they've earned what they've had so far. And I think that with a steady stream of new content or new patches and just reworks of different things, just kind of building upon what they already have, I think this game's got a really bright future.
I will give it a 4.8 because not a lot of games actually make me crave playing them. And this is one of them. Like, I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, I'm going to build a pig pen. Like, I have dreams about this game and what I'm going to do in it. And it's nuts. I don't like that. Also, it's great because it makes me want to play it even more. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, so overall, I think like it's an average of like 4.7 or 6 or something like that, somewhere in there. So very high rating. Obviously recommended by all three of us, which, you know, I wouldn't say our taste in games are necessarily equal by any means. So if all three of us are saying that we recommend it, definitely a game to check out.
I think it's worth it for $20.
Oh, definitely.
Really do.
Definitely. Especially if you have friends to play with. You guys will have a fun time for sure. All right, so that brings us to the part of our podcast when we talk about either positivity or a rant. The P&R is what I guess we're starting to call it. We'll start with Narwhal because I think he had one that he really wanted to share because the first thing he said to us pre-camera, pre-roll was,
"Are you guys ready?
"Do you have one?" So let's hear it.
So I actually have something that's like kind of a promo, not for myself. So I got these candles this week, not this week, like a little bit ago, but I started burning them again because I really wanted to conserve them. So let me grab the other one. I have like a bunch of these candles, and they're from Cosmic Candles, one of my friends, and these ones that I have are all like different Greek gods, like are the names, and they have different scents. So my favorite one has been lavender lemon, and I've been a super candle guy for like a few years, and these ones are like literally my favorite candles that I've ever had in my life. I think it's really cool that she makes them on stream. So she does candle making streams, which I think is like such a cool way and like different way to create content on Twitch, is to like make candles. I just wanted to give like a shout out because I'm super happy with them and I love them so much. So Cosmic Candles. Obsession. Weekly obsession.
Nice. How about you, Jess? What's your weekly PNR? Tell me it's a rant.
So my friend's blanket, and I sent it out. So I'm super excited. It's going to her. I'm glad that I was able to finish a project. But I do have a rant.
Yes.
And
All right,
and I'll
let's
say
hear
it
it.
as I possibly can. My only as you guys know, I work in customer service, and I just it's been really difficult with this whole COVID thing going on. I've went from one customer service job to another, and this one's even more mentally intense than the previous one because I'm dealing with just more money essentially. And I noticed that when someone calls in, they can be sugary sweet and you're like, "Oh yeah, I'll help you," and you're trying to give them the most help you can, and then when you have to give them bad news, people like instantly switch. And my only thing is like I know you may be upset, but to instantly take it out on the person that's giving you this bad news even though it's not their fault, they're following policy, is just so shitty. And I'm sorry, shouldn't swear. It's just so rude because like I'm trying my best to save face and to find the best solution, and just to have someone like yell at you, like literally switch, like super nice, like, "Oh, how are you?" And then I tell them bad news, like instantly rude and just nasty people. I'm like,
Yeah.
and I have to deal with that like every day. It's just it's it's wearing. You have to think about the people you're doing that to because it wears them down.
Yeah.
Like, it's not their fault. I don't go into work every day to say, "Oh, I'm gonna make this person cry. I'm gonna tell them no, because that's my favorite thing in the world." Like, no,
Right.
it's just that's my rant. It's treat others how you wanna be treated. Do you wanna be nasty? You want someone to be nasty to you and yell at you?
Yeah.
No. Don't do that to someone else.
What does your shirt say, by the way? I just see this
Say
Yoda.
when
That's
you
freaking
stub
out.
your toe.
When you what?
When you
stub
stub
your
your toe.
I just see this crazy looking Yoda on your shirt.
That's awesome. I love that.
I got it for like $5 at a store. I
Oh,
thought it
those
was
are the
great.
best ones. Those are the best
Yeah,
ones.
for sure.
So my thing this week for PNR is definitely a positive. As most people know by now, I work at a hospital, an acute care hospital, and I'm working with COVID recovery patients quite often, or COVID patients themselves, and or patients with COVID, or patients recovering from COVID. Sorry, that was the wrong way to say it. And I brought one of my patients out that are recovering from COVID, and he took his first breath of fresh air in 4 months, and he started crying. I started tearing. It was super emotional. I've had some of these patients before, but none that have like been that emotionally invested into air. You know what I mean? And so like bringing him out first time in 4 months, this guy still hasn't seen his family, you know? And so it's like giving him that kind of relief and just like positivity for the week. Really made his day, and he couldn't participate in therapy anymore for the rest of the day because he had like a little bit of like an oxygen event, like hypoxia, because he was crying. So he don't worry, he was okay. So that was good. That was fun. So hoping to do many of those in the near future because I think, like I said, I think we're hopefully finally getting around the turn here. And the Johnson & Johnson vaccine was approved, so
Yes.
FDA allowed. So.
And I'm getting my first shot tomorrow. So when this comes out, I will be 80% or something. I don't know which one I'm getting, but I'm so excited. Wear a mask.
Nice. Yes. Okay, I think that just about does it. I think next week, what do we do? I think we decided on the topic already for episode 4. And it's going to be what does it really take to be like a content creator full time, or like or the things you should know before you try to do it, I guess is a good way to do it. Yes. Okay. But thank you for tuning into episode 3. Really appreciate it. Our awkward goodbye will commence in 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1.
Bye, everyone.